Meet Claire Wilson, the newbie English teacher prepping for her debut at Westerbrook High School in the 2013 to 2014 academic year. With nerves and excitement swirling, she seeks guidance from Catherine, the seasoned French teacher, on navigating the school's labyrinthine halls. Claire spills the beans about her previous teaching gig at Riverton Middle School, setting the stage for her new chapter. At the morning staff huddle, Principal Rivas shines the spotlight on Claire, introducing her to the rest of the crew. Catherine extends a welcoming hand, suggesting they bond over drinks to get Claire up to speed on school secrets, a proposition Claire eagerly accepts. After school, Claire's routine errand to the grocery store takes an unexpected turn when she spots a lipstick display. Temptation strikes, and with a stealthy move, she sneaks one into her bag for a spontaneous beauty fix in her car. Later that night, as the stars twinkle, Claire shares a heart-to-heart with hubby Matt about his impending work trip. Amidst her exhaustion, Matt sees an opportunity for some plot. Though Claire suggests postponing their plans, Matt playfully insists, "Let's take truck in the tunnel tonight." As the conversation flows, Claire's guilty conscience nudges her to confess her impromptu lipstick acquisition. Matt's eyebrows raise in amusement, but Claire brushes it off with a smirk. Just a harmless little indulgence, right? The sun rises on a brand new day, and Claire, the stunning new English teacher, struts into her senior class. Eric and Josh can't take their eyes off her. She's like a magnet for their attention. As Claire dives into Dylan Thomas' powerful poem "Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night," one curious student can't help but gaze in wonder at her. Later on, Eric pays a visit to Mr. Castillo's office, hoping to crack the code on the Travis County Community Scholarship. Mr. Castillo nods approvingly at Eric's soccer captaincy and his part-time diner job, but there's a hurdle. He needs to hit at least 1250 on his SATs. Eric pledges to buckle down and make it happen. Meanwhile, at soccer practice, eagle-eyed Logan spots Claire slipping away and turns to Eric for the lowdown on the hot woman. Eric spills the beans about Claire being their new English teacher, but not without griping about the mountain of homework she's dished out. After practice, Logan can't resist a bit of social media snooping. He checks out Eric's ex, Allison, and can't help but notice how she's blossomed since they were together. Then, he playfully ribs Josh about his sister Mary's newfound allure, courtesy of her summer glow-up. As the day winds down, Eric calls on Josh for a ride to work, which he agrees. At the same time, Matt hits up Claire with a text saying his flight's a no-go. But he's all about flipping the script and telling her to paint the town red to celebrate her school comeback. Claire, staring down at her sorry excuse for dinner, decides she's not gonna let it rain on her parade. She grabs her stuff and bolts out of there, ready to rock and roll. Meanwhile, Eric's wrapping up his gig at the diner when his buddies Logan and Josh give him the wink to sneak out back. They light up some not-so-legal stuff and then twist Eric's arm into whipping up some shakes for the gang. Inside, the gang's lounging at a booth when Logan spots Claire at the counter, itching for an introduction. Eric and Josh reluctantly tag along, joining Logan and sliding up next to the teacher. But duty calls, and Logan's gotta dash when his mom hits him up. With him and Josh out of there, the lone student spills the beans about his mooching mates, leading Claire to insist on footing the shake bill. Drawing from her own diner days, Claire empathizes with the struggle of making ends meet as a young gun, sparking a chat about dreams and goals. The students eyeing a scholarship for the University of Texas, but those SATs, they've been a real drag. Cue the light bulb moment, maybe Claire could play tutor. She's game if the school gives her the green light. After they chow down, Claire offers the student a lift. In the car, she drops a bomb about her brother, a cop in Eric's neighborhood. And then, she cranks up some tunes on the radio, catching Eric off guard and cranking up the intrigue. Who knew teachers had such killer taste? Later, Claire, snug as a bug in her bed, sneaks a peek at her phone. Bam! There's a follow request from Eric, but she brushes it off like dust on a shelf. Now, enter Claire, drifting off into dreamland, crafting plots in her cozy marital bed with his student. But hold on to your hats, folks, because here comes Matt, swooping in like a superhero announcing a surprise flight home. Claire's tired hubby just wants to crash, but she's got other ideas. She's in the mood for some lovin'. Fast forward to the weekend, and our leading lady is all dolled up, claiming she's off for brunch with Catherine. But guess what? She's actually rendezvousing with Eric for their first tutoring session. Cut to a month later, and Eric's mingling at a house bash where he patches things up with his ex, Allison. Logan and Mary crash the scene, prompting Allison to kick him out with a fierce declaration about Mary deserving better. Hold on to your hats, folks, because the party's over when the cops bust in. Eric tries to pull a Houdini, but he's no match for Officer Nate Wilson, hot on his heels. Later, Officer tell him Bo in the breathalyzer, desperate to dodge a blot on his scholarship record. He pulls out all the stops, even name-dropping Claire, his trusty tutor. Enter Claire's brother with the scoop, prompting our hottie to spring into action. With a quick call to Matt, she's off to save the day, leaving him none the wiser about her real mission. At the same time, Eric's posted up on the curb, shooting the breeze with Allison, who's marveling at his lucky streak in dodging a ticket. Just when things are getting cozy, her old man rolls up, ready to whisk her away. Fast forward, and Officer Nate's playing chauffeur, escorting Eric over to Claire's ride. She's quick to thank her bro for the assist, but once the cop's gone, it's time for a real talk. Claire's laying down the law, giving Eric a piece of her mind for his poor decisions. He's quick to say sorry, but Claire's not done yet. She's dropping some truth bombs, warning him to keep their little escapade under wraps. Loose lips sink ships, after all, and she's not about to let Nate lose his gig. And speaking of dropping things, Claire's all about ditching the formalities. None of that Ms. Wilson jazz, it's just Claire, plain and simple. Now, jump to the next day, and Eric's gearing up for his tutoring gig when there's a knock at the door. Lo and behold, it's Claire, on a mission to check up on him. Turns out, he's been ghosting her calls, so she decided to swing by in person. But here's the kicker, Claire's got a wild idea for their day. Instead of hitting the books, she's proposing they shake things up a bit. So, Eric hustles his little bros off to the neighbors, and they're off on an adventure. Later, Eric's cruising in the car with his teacher, feeling curious about where they're headed. With a cheeky grin, he jokes about feeling like he's in a kidnapping scenario. Claire spills the beans. They're on their way to the University of Texas, her old stomping grounds, or as she calls it, hut. As they saunter through campus, Claire flips the script and starts asking Eric about his dreams. Without missing a beat, he spills the beans about his big dream of becoming a doctor, all fueled by his passion to make a difference in people's lives. Suddenly, a pickup truck screeches to a halt, and it's Cody, Logan's big bro, calling out to Eric for a party at their frat house. Despite some initial hesitation, Eric caves when Claire nudges him to seize the moment. Fast forward to the party, and Claire's dropping a bombshell. It's her first ever frat bash. She shares the scoop on her past, always stuck commuting to school and missing out on the fun because of her dad's struggles with alcohol. Eric opens up too, sharing his own story about growing up without his dad, who skipped town before he was born. Words of wisdom flow as Claire urges Eric not to let life's joys slip away, pushing him to seize every moment. And then, a magical moment, Eric plucks something from Claire's hair, leaving her blushing and breathless. They share a charged gaze before Claire suggests it's time to call it a night. Later in his car, she swiftly zaps his message where he spills about having a total blast today. Meanwhile, Eric's on the edge of his seat, waiting for her reply, but no dice as he checks out her Insta and sees she's still ghosting his follow request. Meanwhile, Claire storms into the house and bam, she's hit with the sight of Matt's new gear, music toys he just splashed cash on. He's all hyped, blabbering about some doc buddies who share his music vibe and want a jam. But Claire's fuming, seeing red at the idea of him dipping into their savings without even shooting her a text. Matt's in defense mode, claiming it's all Granddad's bond money, but Claire's not buying it. She insists they should have spent it on something with more bang for their buck. Matt's gutted, feeling like she's raining on his parade, and Claire's had enough, storming off mid-argument. Later on, Eric's buzzing with excitement as he spills the beans to his mom Sandy about his teacher's surprise trip to UT. Sandy's all smiles, loving every bit of it. Meanwhile, sneaky move from Matt's missus as she finally hits accept on Eric's follow request while he's sawing logs. Next day, Josh gets hit with the news that neither Logan nor Eric are getting the slap on the wrist for the party chaos. But Eric's too busy celebrating the fact he can finally peek at Claire's profile. A grin spreads across his face, piquing his buddy's interest. But they get cut off by the bell. Moments later, Eric catches a glimpse of Claire posted up outside a classroom. Seizing the moment, he quickly pulls up her profile, finding a pic of UT Tower with a caption hinting at a great time yesterday. Mustering up his courage, Eric slides up to Claire and asks for a one-on-one, leading her into the classroom. Bringing up their last chat, Eric gives props for the campus tour before going in for a surprise smooch. Claire's taken aback, shoving him away and telling him to scram. Feeling sheepish, Eric starts with the sorries and bolts. Claire's left sitting there, mind spinning from the unexpected twist. As the sun rises, our young hero snaps awake from a wild dream where Claire's giving him all the plot in the classroom, while his buddies look on in awe. Meanwhile, in the hospital, Claire and Matt are in for a serious talk with their doc about making babies. But the news ain't pretty. The doc drops a truth bomb that Claire's baby-making parts are on the fritz, sending her stress levels into overdrive. Before they split, the doc throws out the idea of fancy science baby making, but Claire is quick to remind him she's the one who'll be going under the knife. Feeling the heat, Claire ducks out, late for school already. After class, Eric sticks around for round 2 of apologies for yesterday's drama, but the teacher's not having it, laying down the law that what he did was a big-time mess up. Eric promises to zip it, begging to keep up the tutoring gig. Claire's not buying it, shutting him down and telling him to find help elsewhere. But when Eric mentions he's broke and can't afford fancy test prep like his buddies, Claire softens, agreeing to keep tutoring, but only if he pinky swears to keep his nose clean from now on. During soccer practice, Logan throws the homecoming question at Eric, curious if he's joining the party train. Eric's still on the fence, unsure who he'd even bring as his +1. But Logan's all about the hype, flaunting those after-party hotel rooms and nudging Eric to dive in. Josh jumps in with his 2 cents, pushing Eric to just snag Allison since, let's face it, they're destined to reunite anyway. Later, in the gym, Claire and Catherine are knee-deep in homecoming prep, jazzing up the joint for the big dance. But Claire's vibe takes a hit when she spots Eric popping the homecoming question to Allison, who happily accepts, sending a pang of discomfort through the teacher. That night, Matt's eager to pick up where they left off about that intense doctor's visit. But Claire's not feeling it, pumping the brakes on hormone talks, citing her fresh start at Westerbrook. Matt's all about support, gently assuring her he's in it for the long haul, ready to start a family whenever she is. Next day, Eric's chilling at Logan's crib, and who pops up but Cody. He's itching for the scoop on that mystery woman Eric was spotted with at UT. Feeling the heat, Eric spins a tale about Stephanie, a lot regular, when Logan pushes for a meetup. Eric plays it cool, claiming things are up and down with Stephanie, but they'll cross paths when the stars align. Meanwhile, Claire's blowing up Eric's phone, but he's giving her the silent treatment, choosing to ghost her messages for now. Meanwhile, in a cozy diner, the teacher sits at the counter, pondering why her student hasn't shown up for their tutoring session. Across town, the seniors gather at Logan's house for some pre-dance festivities. Logan's bragging about his booked hotel rooms irks Josh, especially since his sister Mary is attending the dance with Josh's friend. Inside the dance venue, Catherine and Claire seek refuge in a storage closet, venting about their distaste for chaperoning duties. Soon, the French teacher offers her stressed-out friend a sip from her flask. In the gym, Claire watches with envy as Eric dances intimately with Allison. Later, Claire confronts Eric about his absence from their study session. He apologizes, revealing that he's been avoiding her because of his feelings for her. Overwhelmed, Claire instructs Eric to return to the dance floor. Minutes later, they share a significant glance across the room before Claire exits. Eric follows her to the parking lot, and without a word, joins her in the car. They drive to a secluded spot, where Claire reassures Eric that they don't have to proceed if he's unsure. However, Eric expresses his desire to continue. In a tender moment, Claire guides Eric to the backseat where they start kissing and developing plot. And that's where this video ends. Watch the next one and take care.